Hey there, hey guys, this is Robby. I wanted to open up a bit today and talk to you about the transformation that I went through over the last few months. Getting married, got married, and just completely changed my philosophy in terms of the way that I conduct my business and my life. I was extremely introverted for a couple of years because of some really bad things I went through, some problems with ethics, and it was a big deal. So the purpose of of the video today is to really take you through some major epiphanies that I had that completely changed everything for me and that allowed me to become much more successful, much more confident, and just happier in general. So the way it started happening, the way that change started happening was I would always try new things, and I'm a person that's never satisfied, and I always want to try out new stuff, but I would never consistently work at something enough to start seeing results. So I would sometimes focus on one major area, like coaching or web design or working for a company or creating an online business, but I would never stick to it because I would always feel like I need more. It's not enough. It's not fucking enough. I need more shit. I need more stuff to do. I can do more, and I would always feel like it wasn't enough and I would just quit. I would just feel sick, tired, and quit. And then just shy of like 4 months ago, I've had this big epiphany that maybe I shouldn't limit myself to a thing. Maybe, and that's like the most common advice you get is like, oh, don't spread yourself thin. Oh, just do one thing and do it well. What if you do many things well? What if, like me, you're a good coach and a good web designer and a good programmer and a good lecturer and you like to write and, just many other things and you're just good at all of them. Not the master, but you're pretty good at all of them. Why would you limit yourself to only one thing? So I started actually looking at myself as a brand, as like something that is infinite, that has limitless potential. Now again, doesn't mean I'm going to do dancing classes tomorrow because everything is everything builds on top of each other. All of them are synergetic. But the idea is I learned not to limit myself to one thing. And when that happened, a big change started happening. So my energy level went through the roof. Like I just started feeling non-stop energy, and I would just bounce from one thing to another. And I was already making decent money working with businesses and helping them promote themselves and building them landing pages. But suddenly when I went back to also lecturing and coaching people and coaching businesses and just really going all out on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, just marketing myself on Quora, things started really growing. And that was an incredible experience for me because the way my day looks today is I promote my lectures and then that feels amazing. And then I work with my clients' businesses and that feels amazing. And then I coach people and that feels amazing. And every single thing I'm doing is giving me more energy. It's making me feel better and better and better and just building on top of each other. So there's a massive importance to the idea of just going all out and just doing everything. And this might not be a message for everybody because some people, they just want to specialize, but some people like me just need everything. So this is the first big epiphany that I had. Another one was the distinction between motivation coming from passion and winning and motivation that's coming from taking responsibility. So I've always had a lot of problem starting things, not starting, but actually going through on things. So I would start something and I would just stop in the middle. And what I realized was I was very dependent on how I feel, on feeling good and feeling like I want to do something. And if I didn't feel like I want to do something, then maybe there's something wrong with it. And eventually what I realized was there's basically 3 ways to increase your motivation considerably. So the first way is what I call the slight edge way. It's based on my second favorite book of all time called The Slight Edge. Slight Edge. And it talks about how tiny habits can actually create massive changes, and that's the way the world works. And it's small daily tasks that nobody notices, and they don't have almost any results in the present, but they're going to lead to massive results in the future. Like if you do 5 minutes of meditation every day, or read 5 pages of a good book every day, or just do 2 sales calls a day, whatever it is, small actions lead to massive results. And I've done this method consistently since age 18 till 21 or 22, and it helped me come out of perfectionism and really build confidence in my ability to get things done. The next phase of motivation for me was the massive action phase, where I basically just created like massive commitments to scary shit, like if I don't get 500 people to my lecture, I'm going to lose like $10,000, or I'm just going to fly to Europe and whatever happens, and I got to become successful. So I really went all out on that, but the problem with that was I just kept burning myself up. So I took massive risks, and it didn't always work out, and when it didn't, it was super painful. And but that was a necessary step. And today I'm at this really much more developed paradigm of motivation, where I actually look at motivation from a place of responsibility. So for me today, my motivation actually comes from responsibility, taking responsibility. So as you probably know, I'm married, and like everybody, I have a family, and I'm deeply committed to my marriage, to my clients. And what I learned was, when you take responsibility, it gives you the motivation because you don't have a choice anymore. So if you right now, you want to be a musician, and what you do is you just start collecting a big list of people that are interested in your music, and I can teach you how to do that, so contact me for that. You're just going to feel very motivated because you don't have a choice, because you already created like a commitment with many people that you're going to give them quality music and send them your music when you start doing it. Or when you, for example, book an event, book a music show, again, you're committed, you don't have a choice. And you can tell it's real because when you talk to people about that and you say, oh, you're not motivated, so why don't you build a list of people that are interested, or just book an event? People are like, oh, that's like, oh my God, that's so much, because they realize there's no choice. Once you create a commitment, you're there. What happens is you get committed, you take action because you don't have a choice, and then you start winning, and then you want to take more commitment because you're winning. So that's just the way the motivation thing works, and it's really awesome. That's like my current paradigm for that. Another big lesson is to just say yes to everything. So, and when I say everything, I don't mean things that are, I'll just go ahead and say it. Just say yes to everything. The problem is people say no way too much. Like, people say no to adventure, to experiences, to clients, to opportunities, to desires, to interests, to their imagination. So just start saying yes to everything. Like, I don't say no until I have to, and that's something that I learned from Grant Cardone. Whenever somebody wants to work with me, I don't care about the terms. Like, obviously I'm trying to get the best terms, but if somebody's like, hey dude, I've only got $100 and that's like all the money I've got, I won't say no. I'll just find a way to make it work. Like, oh, okay, so you only have $100? Awesome. So let's do like 10-minute sessions every week or something. I don't want to say no to anybody. Oh, you think you can take enough clients? Yeah, I'll take them, whatever. And the reason for that is because there's a quote that I really like by a guy named Julian Blanc. He didn't make up the quote, but he taught me the quote. And the quote is, the road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. You never know what is enough until you know what is too much. So you can only develop real wisdom and knowledge of your limits and boundaries by going overboard. So taking up too many clients, working too hard at your job, going on too many dates, dates, too many experiences, too much by actually crossing that line. And you'll be surprised because the line is much further than you think. So I initially thought like, oh, I can maybe handle like 5 business clients at the same time. And then I got to 5, and I said, wait, maybe I can do 10. And then I got to 10. And then I said, maybe I can do 20. And I'm reaching there very, very fast. So I'm just constantly learning about my boundaries. And the reason for that is because I keep saying yes to everything. And yeah, sometimes you make mistakes. But as long as you keep your ethics in line, as long as your ethics are in, and you're actually, making sure that whenever you make a mistake, you admit it, you don't just, or fix it, and you don't just hide your mistakes, that really changes everything. So as long as you keep your ethics, there's really nothing to worry about. Now, the next major lesson that I learned, it's from a book called Win Bigly by a guy called Scott Adams. An amazing book, probably the best book I've read in 3 years. And it's about Trump and how he used master persuasion skills to actually get to the White House. And the guy teaches you like many techniques about persuasion and influence. And the biggest one I've learned, the one that really changed everything for me, is something called the high ground maneuver. So I had a big problem where when I would get like hate comments or somebody saying I suck or doubting me, or somebody from the past that maybe I did something, it always haunted me. Like I would always get very reactive, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So I always wanted to get attention, and I always loved to like go all out. Even though I'm an introvert, I just love exploding out and just getting tons of attention because I'm kind of narcissistic and I love it. Even though it doesn't come naturally. But again, that would always hold me back. Like, let's say that I have a bad client from 2 years ago that maybe didn't end well. I would always fear, like, oh my God, what if he sees my stuff and I get like a bad reaction again from him? Or what if people think I'm an idiot? Whatever. And the high ground is probably the most life-changing persuasion skill. So the way it works is you use it whenever a social situation isn't to your advantage. Like, for example, my partner who I'm doing lectures with is also a stripper and a tantra teacher. So one time we were promoting the lecture, and some guy said, oh, why do you think I'm gonna take life advice from a stripper? Like, just kind of like this really condescending comment at the top of the post, so everybody would see it because it was like a 10,000 plus views video. So I just responded and I told him, look, dude, Danny is a human. He's not just a stripper. He's a human being, and he went through many things in life. He's been a sniper in the army. He's done crazy deals. The guy has lots of life experience, and there's lots of things to learn from him. We're not only defined by our jobs, but also by what we went through. So it would actually be a great service to you to not judge people just based on one characteristic. So that's one example, and that worked amazingly. The high ground maneuver, Steve Jobs used it, and he used it when Apple's phones, the iPhone 4, used to drop calls. So every time you would put it in a certain angle, it would actually drop calls. And this is Apple. This is like the Mercedes of phones. So this was a huge blunder that could have really made Apple fall and die. And the way Steve Jobs handled it was amazing. What he did was the press came up to him and said, are you ashamed that your phones don't work? And what he said was, instead of apologizing or saying, oh, we'll fix it, and if he does that, the problem is basically they're gonna remember it forever. So what he did, which was amazing, was say, look, we're all humans, and human beings make mistakes. We're not perfect, and our phones are not perfect, but we keep trying and we keep working to improve them and make the best products on the market. And so when he said that, all the air went out of the room, and there's no more room for humor. So you did the high ground maneuver well when there's just, you can't go back to the pre, just raise the level of the argument. So for example, like once I said what I said, he can just go back to his argument, full statements that everybody agrees with, and one by one, and then you end up with some sort of a call to action or call to agreement. So let's say you're late on your rent and your house, hey, blah blah blah, come on, you owe me the money, and he gets like really pissed and emotional, and you're scared of that. So what you'd say is, look, dude, it's in my best interest that the rent gets paid, and it's in your best interest that the rent gets paid. This happen. Instead of fighting, let's think about how we can actually make this happen, and let's get some agreement going. Can we move the part where we solve this? And so, for example, by saying this, you neutralize the situation, because you just said a bunch of things that are generally true that you cannot argue with, that are facts, and then you went on with your agenda, which is, again, to reconcile and just move on. So if he goes back to, oh, but you didn't pay your rent, well, just sounds like an idiot, and because that's how you frame the situation really, really strongly. So anytime you're in a situation in life that's not to your advantage, you can actually use the high ground maneuver by Scott Adams. It will change your life. It will make you feel so relating exposure. And unfortunately, I have to wrap this up. But again, the main changes I've had this year, the main personal epiphanies I've had are, number one, not you have many, many desires, many things that you want to be good at. Do them all. Become a person of many, many skills. And by doing that, you will have boundless energy. You'll feel motivated, not by doing responsibility is the source of motivation. And finally, the high ground maneuver, tons of attention, amazingly. So and that was me for today. So much for listening. Just thanks for all the 4 people here, and thousands. So again, thank you all. Like this if you like the video. Comment if you got any value from it. I really, really appreciate you watching this. And let me know if you need any help. Contact me. I'd be so happy to help you guys. And again, thank you for watching.